Yeah, namaste. The light within me greets the light within you. That's, one of the great concepts ever, namaste, out of the Hindu religion. And, hey, it's 8 o'clock. You are tuned to WHUS Storrs. We're going to have an expanded version of One World Radio this morning. Excuse me there for a second. I'm Richard. I'm usually on from 10 till noon. I'm filling in this morning here for Max, and we are going to have our extravaganza. Boy, got the little frog in my throat there. Anyhow, interesting show today. We've got hopefully an interview with Bernard Stollman around 11 o'clock. We're giving him extra time because there might be a lot of stories. Bernard Stollman, the founder of ESP Records. So that's a due around 11 o'clock. And we're also going to celebrate the season, holiday. Halloween's coming up, so I think we're going to get some Halloween-oriented stuff. And, congratulations to all of New England. The Red Sox are world champions again, and, we're going to see. I predicted 7 years ago, before they won in 2004, that they were going to win in 2007, and they have done it. So congratulations to all Red Sox fans. Enjoy it while you can. We're going to start our program off now with the Darbuki Kings. We did this maybe last time also. They are a couple of hip dudes, and we are going to play a song now called The Darbukiator right here on One World Radio, WHUS. Yeah, some cool vintage soul from Spain right there. That was Finders was the name of the band there, and a cover of a song, Ven Conmigo, Sensacional Soul, 37 groovy Spanish soul and funk stompers, 67 to 76. Vampy Soul is the label for that. Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings before that. Hopefully you know who they are by now. New record, 100 Days and 100 Nights. Mighty good. It's on the Dap Tone record label as usual. We heard Keep on Looking, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. That was Dave, I always forget his last name. Dave, the trumpet player. I know him quite well. Dave Guy, that's his name. Dave Guy is a great trumpet player. You heard him on that Keep on Looking, Sharon Jones. They're going to be in Central Square, that is the Middle East, on November 9th. The opening band is Budos. This is a great double bill, as good as it gets, folks. That's November 9th. Put it on your calendar. Sharon Jones and Budos at the Middle East in Cambridge. All right. Before Sharon, we heard Federico Arbile out of Argentina, a fantastic record. We've been playing it quite a bit. Maria Jose was the piece we heard from Federico. We heard R.E.M. doing a cover of Rocky Erickson's I Walked with a Zombie, a kind of a Halloween type of song, I guess. And we began with See You from her new remix record just put out by 6 Degrees. And we heard the Bombay Dub Orchestra's Grateful Dub radio mix of Rhoda. That was a mouthful, okay. We are going to continue with music. We're going to go in. Actually, it's time for us to turn our gaze upward and turn it to Sun Ra's Cosmic Corner. We're going to do that for a bit. And then hopefully we're going to talk to Bernard Stollman and maybe get some talking about Sun Ra. So until then, Sun Ra's Cosmic Corner is happening. Halloween is in a few days. The orchestra is playing on Halloween night at the Iridium in New York City and the next night. And more than likely, they'll be doing this one. Check it out here on Sun Ra's Cosmic Corner.
This song is Halloween in Harlem.
We're listening to Exotic Forest right here on Sun Ra's Cosmic Corner. Marshall Allen on the oboe. This one goes back a long ways from Nothing Is. Sun Ra's Cosmic Corner happening on WHUS Storrs, One World Radio. And in a few moments, I'm going to try to give Bernard Stollman, the person who founded this ESP label, a call, and we'll see if we can get a nice talk with him. Right now, we're listening to Sun Ra on Sun Ra's Cosmic Corner right here on WHUS Storrs. right, folks. Bernard, are you on the phone? I think I lost Bernard. Okay, it happens sometimes. I'm gonna have to try again. We will get Sun Ra back on here. Here we go. Let's see. Bernard, are you on the phone there? Do I have Bernard on the phone? Geez, it's not happening. And I have him on the phone, but it's not going on. Okay, folks, we're going to still work on that. put this on here. Now, do we have Bernard on the phone?
Do you have me here?
Hey, that's fantastic. We finally got you going. That is great. Well, it's not easy sometimes around here, but it gets done. So, folks, we have Bernard Stollman on the telephone, and thanks a lot, Dylan, for that help. We have Bernard now. Bernard is a legend, in some corners, I would have to say, because ESP Records was the label that sparked a lot of people into listening to jazz music and spiritually oriented music, because that's what I think the avant-garde really was about. And you started this label because you were were enamored to that kind of music, Bernard, or how did this start for you?
Well, it began almost accidentally. You're getting echo from.
Oh yeah, we have a little echo. Oh, I don't know where that's coming from, but we'll have to deal with it.
Can people hear it?
I think so. Yeah. Yep. You're coming over the air.
Well, it'd be very annoying to hear.
Yeah.
Hearing my voice and that.
Let's see.
Eliminate it.
Yeah. I don't know how to exactly get that, but you still there?
I'm right here.
All right. Well, we're just gonna have to deal, I think, with the best we can. Right. Oh, wait a sec. Here we go. Now, is that any better?
I'll tell you in a moment.
Okay. Well, I just hung up the phone, so that might be it. Yeah. Anyhow, let's talk a little bit about how you began your label.
Yeah, of course. I started out as a lawyer in general practice, and my first clients were the estate of Charlie Parker and the estate of Billie Holiday, in the office of a feminist firebrand lawyer named Florence Kennedy in Midtown Manhattan. She let me become a gopher in her office. I met the Louis McKay, who was the widow of Billie, and I met Doris Parker, but the ostensible last wife of Charlie Parker. So I became aware of, that was the first moment. That was 1960. I had never heard either artist during the 50s, during their heyday.
So you hadn't listened to Charlie Parker or Billie Holiday to that point?
I wasn't aware of them.
Okay.
That tells you how knowledgeable I was about jazz at that time. I'd heard Sonny Rollins and John Coltrane play quite inadvertently in a live performance in an afternoon, and it was quite stunning. I had very, very, just not serious, but casual encounters with the music, and it was gorgeous. But I had not pursued it. I was not a devotee. I wasn't knowledgeable. But when I encountered the people who were making the music in the 60s, the successors to John Coltrane, Monk, Miles, Mingus, the next generation after Coltrane, if you will, Albert Ayler, Sun Ra, I recognized that they were clearly the next. They were going to be the next wave, and they were desperate. No record label would go near them, would touch them. They were just too cutting edge, too new. So I saw an opportunity to do what, as I imagined, the publishers in Berlin, in Munich, and in Vienna had done in the early 1800s. They've given support to the musicians of that era, the Romantic composers, by publishing and printing their music. So I saw an analogy. I saw a parallel between what they did then, those publishers, and what could be done now. So I decided I would become their advocate. They didn't need a lawyer. They needed someone to record them.
Yeah.
So I went to my mother. I was the firstborn of 7 children. And I said to her that I, although I was a mere boy of 34, I hadn't quite decided what to do with my life, I'd hit on something that I thought could be useful. And what I would do is document the work of these young emerging composers. And she gave me my inheritance. I said I didn't want to wait 40 years for it, and she was fine with that. And I produced 45 albums in 18 months.
Wow.
And I documented everybody, I think, just about, not everybody, but pretty nearly the whole community, and gave them all a leg up, as they say.
Yeah. Now, you were the first person to record Albert Ayler?
Not.
He had that early record, right? Before ESP.
Yes, he did. While he was in Europe, he made one. He made one album in Sweden.
That's My Name is Albert.
With local musicians.
Right, that was My Name is Albert, I think.
Yes,
That came out.
before he recorded for me, he did record an album for English label. I think it was called Spirits, Ghost Spirits.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. The Wizard. In any event, after I met Albert, he had a previous commitment to record, but he agreed he would come back to me. He agreed to come back to me afterwards. And 6 months after we met, we did record his first album for ESP. But there were already two albums that had been made prior to that time.
Yeah. But ESP really is the one that introduced Albert to the world, I think.
Yes, you could say that.
Yeah.
We gave him his first major port.
And did you know him well, Albert?
Not at all. He was a very modest, low-key individual. I encountered him only because a friend of his came to me one day out of the blue and said, invited himself to visit me, and it turned out that he was a cosmetic salesman from Chicago. But he had grown up in Cleveland with a friend named Albert Eiler, and they'd formed an orchestra group, and they made money in high school by playing around Cleveland. He said, "You must record him. You must hear him." He said, "He's remarkable." On the strength of this endorsement from someone I really didn't know, I went to the Baby Grand Cafe during Christmas, New Year period on 125th Street in Manhattan, in Harlem, and heard Albert. And he did a solo bit, solo on the stage, and an afternoon, a cold afternoon in the winter. And I approached him afterwards. I was absolutely stunned by what he was doing, and I invited him to record, and he said he would.
So that was
6 months later. He showed up at a studio that I booked for them with his trio, Gary Peacock and
Sonny Murray. Yeah.
Met these people, met them, and they just went in to record. There was no discussion as to what he was going to do. There's no discussion as to content. I simply gave him my full endorsement to do what he thought best. And I remember that Gary was married to Annette Peacock. She had come along, and we sat outside the control room door, which was propped open, and over the monitors in the control room, we could hear what they were playing. I was absolutely, totally, completely captivated. I said to Annette, this is such an auspicious beginning for a record label. She nodded her head, yes, you're right. And that's the composer performer in her own right. And so that was how the label was launched, Spiritual Unity, the first record by Albert Eiler.
Yeah. And then how long did you record him before he passed on?
I think our relationship lasted just a couple of years, because he then went to Impulse and made 5 or 6 albums for them.
Yep, that's right.
In 1970, he came back to see me. He'd left Impulse. He was about to do a tour, his first tour of Japan. The fee, I'm told, was $250,000. He was well launched, and he came to see me, and we had a very pleasant conversation. And 2 weeks later, they found his body in the East River.
Yeah, and still a mystery.
Yes. I can't say. I have many theories flying around, but I have no answers.
Yeah. Well, he was quite a striking individual, Albert. Physically and musically, he was just an amazing guy. So it's great that you got him on there before we lost him.
Well, I'm glad I made that decision to work with him. But it was an easy decision to make because his work was so extraordinary.
That's right. Nobody else really sounded like him. Playing nursery rhymes and taking it into the outer reaches is something incredible. Bernard, now I want to ask you about ESP, the name of the record label. It seems like you had a pun in mind.
I did.
Okay.
In '63, I started a label just to make one record. Many people have done that, right? You get obsessed with an idea and you simply start a record, put a record out. And that's what I did. I put a record out called Let's Sing in Esperanto in '63. And so I got some experience doing it with the mechanics of putting a record out. And that was actually my first production. It's still in the catalog.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so the name of the label was Esperanto Disc, and I thought to myself, well, that's kind of long. Maybe we can cut it down. Well, the authorized abbreviation for Esperanto in the language is ESPO.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, well, maybe Espo. And I looked at it again, and I thought, well, wait a minute. If I take off the noun ending, the letter O is the noun ending for all nouns in the language. Let's see what I have here. ESP. I thought to myself, wow, what a great name. So I didn't pick it. It just
it came to you.
Nudged me.
Now, did you Zamenhof is the man's name who designed Esperanto?
Yes.
Did you ever encounter him at all?
Well, he did this in 1887. And he was a youth in Białystok, Poland, on his way to medical school. And he, you can imagine, in that world, he was surrounded by people speaking many different languages: German, Russian, Polish,
Yiddish.
The streets were filled with people who hated each other, couldn't communicate with each other in Białystok, in this town center. And he was an amateur linguist, so he created this language. Then went off to college. His father, being a minor functionary for the Tsar, thought, oh my God, this will be considered subversive. He tore up all the notes. But he presented no problem because he remembered it, and when he came home, he put it together again. But he sent it off to Tolstoy, and a month later, and this is more not legend. Tolstoy wrote back to him in Esperanto.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So I've had this lifelong attachment to Esperanto. It started in 1960, and it's going strong, even stronger today.
Yeah, so there's still the Esperanto movement is still going on.
There are about 2 million people around the world who use the language as amateurs. I would say probably it's fairly stable. It doesn't grow. People are linguistically oriented. People have actually the language of the humanist was a device that Zamenhof created because he was a humanist and he was interested in the humanist movement. And the language is just a tool. He didn't take it that seriously. Just thought it might be useful. But today the world has changed, of course, and with advent of computerization, there's possibilities.
Yeah. It seems like, one world is what we've got, and Zamenhof had an idea that could get us all together on the same page.
What's really curious about it, about 12 or 13 years ago, it struck me that probably Esperanto could be used as a bridge language or an interlingua among languages if one created the algorithms for this purpose. That was my idea. So I went looking for someone who might be working on that idea, and I found an inventor. And he had developed a technology. He'd done all the algorithms. And to make a long story short, I looked him up, I found him, and the system worked. I was absolutely flabbergasted and pleased. So since that time, we've had a partnership, and the company is going to, in the next several months, we anticipate a launch of a software technology that will translate among the major world languages.
Wow!
Imagine that.
That's incredible.
I'm gearing up for it. It's too huge for one person or even two people to deal with. It's going to touch. I think it will touch on all aspects of human communication.
Wow. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go.
The problem with this concept that's been the bane of linguists all over the world from time immemorial, and even today, computer linguists are colleges around the world. Yahoo and Google are struggling with it. The basic problem has been ambiguity, which is inherent in all languages, of course. Mm-hmm. Can you make a word at Alice in Wonderland? Can you make a word mean what you want it to mean?
Yep.
So I think I came up with the answer to that, and my partner agrees with me. We will concentrate only on sciences and professions, sciences, technology, finance, medicine, all those areas where, including international trade, where you have to have a common vocabulary. You can't deal with ambiguity if you're talking pharmacology or astronomy or medicine, any of these enormous number of fields. You must have a common vocabulary.
Yes.
So that was my stroke. That was my inspiration. So we're not trying to do something for the general public. That will have to follow. And the answer to that, linguists have already come up with, which is if you use a word that is an ambiguous word, and so many are. You pick up a dictionary, many words are ambiguous. The screen recognizes that word and says to you, in effect, what meaning do you choose for this word? And it gives you a list of possibilities. So it slows. If you use an ambiguous term, it slows you down. It doesn't make it impossible. It just makes it more slow and cumbersome.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's language is a way really to connect people up, and music is another way. And that's what this program is. One World Radio. It's all about people being connected on the planet by playing music from all the different cultures together. But the only person that I play every week on my show is Sun Ra, and I've been doing that for since I've been on the air for 15 years or more. So Sun Ra's Cosmic Corner is a weekly, or actually now I'm on a couple of times a week. So he's on every show with me, Sun Ra, and he's the only one. And I think that you might have had some kind of relationship with Sun Ra because you recorded him several times.
Sun Ra and I met. There's something called the October Revolution. It was a small festival that was put together in the Cellar Cafe in Manhattan in 1964, in October. And I met Sun Ra there. I met just about everyone I recorded during that period showed up for this tiny festival, this kind of desperation festival. The cafe had no electricity; it was unheated, but somehow they managed to do a festival. And I met Marion Brown there, Paul Bley, Giuseppe Logan, Sun Ra. I met everyone there, and invited them all to record for my new label, and they all said yes. And Sonny invited me to. He didn't play the cafe. He invited me to a loft in Newark, and I went and I caught him and his group there, and I was blissed out. As it were.
Yeah,
beautiful. So he agreed to record for me, and he had his own label. I guess
Saturn Records.
And I brought him to a world audience because we quickly had international distribution.
And most of the Sun Ra recordings, several of them are live recordings, but you did take them in the studio also.
Initially, yes.
Yeah.
Our first recordings were studio recordings. Heliocentric Worlds 1 and 2.
Yeah. We actually, earlier in the show, we played a Heliocentric Volume 3, which is a new ESP release.
Sonny carried it around with him for 35 years. It was a portion of the second recording session he had done for us. As it was his habit, he would give you what you had ordered, and because he was kind of wrote these long pieces, he walked away from the studio with some other material that I had never heard. And today I work now with Mike Anderson, who has a 30-something year history as a broadcaster on WBGO and now FWFNU in New York. And Mike had that tape. He had played with the Sun Ra Arkestra.
Oh, yeah.
20 years ago.
I interviewed Michael.
And he had kept that tape. And Sonny had made him his archivist. So it was a miracle. I mean, very recently, that tape surfaced.
Wow.
So we thought, wow, we should put this out.
Yeah, no kidding.
And we did.
Yeah. So, and now you're actually reissuing a lot of your earlier catalog.
A very large part. And then the next 3 or 4 months, we will be putting out a box set of the Thugs.
Oh, fantastic.
Paul Bley's first quintet album.
The one with Marshall?
Bob James, the New York Art Quartet, Ornette Coleman. Yeah, we're probably got a Barbarian. We'll be putting out a large part of our original catalog. We'll be reissuing it.
That's great. Now, the Paul Bley session, did you have anything to do with Marshall Allen getting on that?
No, but that was Paul's own decision.
Because that's the only album that Marshall plays on besides there's an Olatunji record, but Marshall only plays with Sun Ra. But that one Paul Bley record it was really, really rare. And the first time I talked to Marshall, he told me...
Once Paul agreed to record... I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh, I was just going to say that Marshall didn't have a copy of it the first time I talked to him, which was in 1980. And I told him that if I ever found a copy, because I didn't have one, I said I'd pick him up one. And then an Italian person reissued, you're probably, unbeknownst to you, I don't know, but ESP started showing up.
There were 2 Italian licensees. The first was a disaster,
yep.
And the second was less a disaster.
Okay. But I did find a couple of those Paul Bley albums, and I gave one to Marshall, and kind of cemented our relationship.
I'm sure this did. No, that album's going to come out again now.
Great.
So we're very much engaged in both in reissuing and releasing new material.
Right. Now, just recently there was an Albert Eiler and a Bud Powell and a third one also that came.
Sonny Murray.
Sonny Murray, right. And those seem to be new records.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Albert Eiler at Hilversum was a session that he had done way, way back in the beginning with Don Cherry and his trio. It had been released unofficially without permission by a Dutch label and was out for some years. And then we took it over.
Okay.
We recaptured it and have now issued it officially.
Okay.
That's how that happened.
Okay.
It's doing very well.
Well, that's good. It should.
Also, the Sonny Murray is his original album for ESP as the leader, but he had done some interviews. And, Sonny's a charming, fascinating, very funny conversationalist. So we tacked on another 20 minutes or so of his interview.
Oh, yeah.
With the reissue.
Well, he's one of my all-time favorite drummers, Sonny Murray. I saw him one time drop a stick and walk around to the front of the kit while still drumming and pick up the stick that had flown away, and it never stopped. Never stopped his drumming. He was just amazing guy.
Yeah. Well, we're putting out more material by him. He's sending 9 albums to put out. Here's some of his earlier material and some unissued material. So we're going to be doing a major release, a box set of Sonny Murray.
Oh, that's fantastic.
He deserved it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now, you were known as a avant-garde jazz label, but you released several people that were not jazz musicians at all. Pearls Before Swine. We actually played Pearls Before Swine earlier in the show, one of your ESP releases, and I really enjoyed that band. I liked them a lot. But how did you get involved with somebody like that?
Got a tape. I got a small reel tape from O'Galley, Florida. I played it. Didn't know the person, and it moved me to tears.
He had a lisp. You said, "This guy's singing with a lisp," right?
Yeah. It's quite endearing. It's fine. And so I called him down in Florida, and I said, "Please go into a studio and make a demo." This little reel was interesting, but I wanted to hear the group more. And a tape. Within a few weeks, a craft paper wrap package came, and on the cover was scribbled, "Garbage, trash, rubbish, no good." I thought, what is this? I opened it up, and it was absolutely beautiful. He'd gone to a Born Again studio, and the people hated his work.
Tom Rapp. This is Tom Rapp, folks, that we're talking about.
Tom Rapp.
Yep.
And so I invited the guys. I invited them to come to New York. They stayed in my parents' apartment and sleeping bags, and every night they went off to Dick Alderson's studio, which is where Lincoln Center now stands. It was a studio owned by Harry Belafonte, and they made their albums, and they hit the pop charts too.
Yeah,
very quickly. Tom had a song called Uncle John, which the lyrics went something like this: "The wind winds the platform and blows through your suit creases. You want us to crucify the enemy for Jesus, but he's lost in your wallet fold." Well, apparently, our late president didn't like that song very much, and certainly he didn't like "Kill for Peace," which is a song by the group called the Thugs, which we also had out, and so we were put out of business overnight.
Wow.
The federal government and the mafia together put us out of business by bootlegging us.
Oh, that's what happened. Wow.
We lasted for 3 years. In '68, we were out of business effectively. No sales. And yet, one day we had 3 chart albums, rising to the top of the charts. The kids were being drafted for Vietnam. They were very upset, and the buzz drew them to us. And so we had between the Fugs and the Pearls, we had 3 chart albums.
Yep. Randy Burns was another one, right?
I didn't make the charts, but he was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
A Connecticut boy.
Yeah, right, from New Haven, my hometown.
Sure.
But the Fugs is another one of my favorite bands. And, how did you get involved with Ed and Thule and those guys?
Well, I had hired an art director, kind of, freelance, And I'd seen them on the marquee of a club called the Capio Go-Go.
Yep.
The Fugs. I thought, wow, what audacity! How great, you know. But I hadn't pursued them. And then one day, my art director came in, and he said, "You look kind of down. What's the matter? Why do we?" I said, "I'm sorry. This shows, I guess." I said, I really feel terrible. I said, "We put out a lot of these albums. They're not selling. The people aren't ready for new music, apparently, in this country." He said, "You got no problem." I said, "What?" He said, "You've got no problem." He said, "You've got the Fugs." I said, I what?" "Yes," he said, "they're friends of mine," he said, "and they like what ESP is doing, and they want to be with ESP."
Wow.
Well, they already had an underground hit record on Folkways.
Uh-huh.
And I went to Mo Ash at that point, and I said, "Mo, the Fugs." Oh, he said, "That dirty group." He said, "I don't want them on my label. They don't belong on my label." I said, "Look, Mo, I'll license it for you." That was the Fugs' first album. He said, "All right, sure, I'll license it to you." We were friends. You know. So I paid him a fairly substantial amount of money, and I took the tapes from him and put it out as the Fugs, the first. They had to call the Village Fugs, I guess.
Yeah.
Broadside album. And we put it out. It was a big hit. I mean, almost immediate hit. They went to the studio and they made their second album for ESP. I had signed them to a one-album deal. I signed everyone to a one-album deal. My feeling was, why tie people's hands? And furthermore, if they have the freedom to go to another label, that label, if it's a large label, will promote them and help support it, support their recognition. And that's how it worked out. I mean, Impulse recorded about everyone we recorded, because they weren't tied to us.
Yeah.
And Impulse gave them a lot of support.
Right. So you really did support the musicians in a really deep way by, not tying them down.
Well, I had a lot of unorthodox ideas. One is that they should have a one-page agreement. I'd seen these 42-page agreements that the majors used. I was horrified. So I did a one-page agreement. And one record, one page, and we co-published the music, and they waived mechanical royalty, but they got an artist royalty, which is absurdly small. But the retail price is $5.98, so there wasn't very much money there to offer. But I recognized that their record would be a passport to recognition, and that's exactly how it worked.
Yeah, yeah. Now, another really well-known person, I think you recorded his first record, was Pharoah Sanders.
Yes, Pharoah had played with Sun Ra.
Yes.
I think he'd played with one or two other people, but he hadn't had an album as a leader.
He hadn't played with Coltrane yet.
He had worked in the kitchen somewhere. He was a cook or something.
But he hadn't played with Coltrane when you recorded him.
I didn't know that.
No, because Coltrane was his major mentor, right? But
yes, he was.
But
Sun Ra
also, yes.
So no, I recorded Pharoah. I'm not even sure how I found him. All I know is that one day he showed up at the studio. Jerry Newman had this huge, cavernous, dark studio, and Pharoah walked in with his group. He was very, in those days, he was not very effusive, not very outgoing, kind of a somber, gruff, suspicious sort. But he's still the same. He hasn't changed that much over the years. I guess he's mellowed somewhat. And he barely looked at me, And he and the engineer got together, figured out exactly what the mic was going to be, and they did the album. And they finished it, and I paid him and the sidemen. He went off. I didn't see him again for 40 years.
Wow.
One day he was at the Iridium just recently, and I couldn't resist it. I went to the Iridium and caught his set, which was great. He was doing all kinds of vocalizing as well as playing.
Great.
Very novel, I think. And I went to the back of the dressing room, sat down. He looked at me. I looked at him, and he said, he wouldn't say, "Who are you?" He didn't know, of course.
Yeah.
I said, "Pharoah, it's me, Bernard." So he did double take. I did double. It was funny. He's all right. He's okay.
That's good. So the orchestra's playing at the Iridium this week, Wednesday and Thursday night.
Yeah.
Have you seen them at all?
I've caught some of their sets. They're interesting in their own way. It's not Sun Ra.
No.
It's something very different.
But it's Marshall Allen is really one of the all-time greats, I think, and he's put a nice touch to the band, and I go to see him as much as I can, and I'm still enjoying the shows quite a bit.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Marshall, we'll be doing. I think we'll be doing more with Marshall. He's in Philadelphia, as you know,
yes,
and he plays with Elliot Levin,
yes.
and they've got something very interesting going on, I think. And so I imagine Marshall will surface again.
Well, hopefully so.
Label.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful to see something coming out. I know Elliot pretty well too, so.
Oh.
Yeah, I interviewed Elliot not too long because another person that's on your label is Buzzy Linhart.
Oh,
you did one with Buzzy, and when I met Elliot, he was playing with Buzzy. That's how I met Elliot.
Oh, I had no idea they ever played together.
Yeah, it was a couple of summers ago in the city, and I finally got to see Buzzy for the first time.
Well, I should be looking for him because I have great admiration for his spirit, his great spirit.
For Buzzy, yeah, he does have an incredible spirit. Buzzy does, yeah.
And so we can't. It's inescapable.
Yep, that's all true. So. Now, how about the future for ESP? It sounds like you've got like a big plans coming out, box sets, and tons of reissues. And you're going to still put out some new music also.
We are. We've just signed a young Swedish singer-songwriter named Linda Collardell from Gothenburg, Sweden. She'll be here next month, and she wants to do some more recording. We have 2 albums, I believe. We have one, and I think a second one, of her earlier work, and she's very innovative. I think she's the first singer to whom we've made a commitment since the Patty Walker.
Patty, yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Without a woman vocalist. We haven't really done justice to women on this label. I must say that.
That's true. Patty Waters was about... Yeah, Patty was the only one, I think, for a long time.
Yes. There was one woman vocalist... the Dutch, Natalie Ostak had a vocalist, and I saw her recently. She's quite wonderful. But she was just about, I think, the only woman singer that this label has had.
Okay. Well, Bernard, I want to thank you again for all the great work you've done over the years, and bringing people's attention to music that really needs to be heard that nobody else is presenting. So you've done a great job for everybody, and hopefully ESP will continue to be a success.
Well, we're holding our own. Obviously, it's a very difficult time.
Oh yes.
For the industry, huge changes underway.
Yep.
But we have global distribution, and most importantly, at least thus far, all of our distributors have paid their bills. You ship products and consignments as far east, all over the world, and you wonder if they're going to pay you, and they do. So all I can say is that's quite a wonderful thing to have. And if we can continue this pattern, we'll be all right. Apparently, music is holding its own. There's a community that doesn't want to download. They want physical products.
Yes.
And those people, they're a tiny minority, but they're very serious about the music, and I'm just happy to be able to continue putting the music out for them.
Yeah. There's even a resurgence in vinyl, and you're not going to go back.
We have plans. We'll be doing vinyl this coming year, too.
That's great. I know people that are going to buy that up.
No, we're going seriously into vinyl.
That's great. That's good.
So that is as much as I can tell you at this moment.
All right. Well, that's fine. Well, thanks a lot, Bernard, for taking time with us today, and hopefully we're going to catch up with you. One of these days I'm going to come into the office. Charlie Blass is another friend of mine, so we're going to come in one of these days. And
by all means.
Yeah, we'll come and check you out.
Good.
But thanks a lot, and have a great rest of the day, and we'll catch you soon.
Good.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, folks. That was Bernard Stollman, founder of ESP Records. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And we got like 10, 15 minutes left here for music. We're going to go right back to music right now. This is Maharaja right here on One World Radio WHUS Storrs.